Hey there, YouTube. Welcome to my channel. This is Amazon Tips with Tina. If it's your first time, welcome. If you are a repeat watcher, thank you for coming back. And today I have special guests, Andrew and Tasha, with me, and they are here to share their journey of why they decided to start doing Amazon and why they decided to start their journey with launching a product right out of the gate. So welcome, you guys, and thank you for coming on my channel.
Yeah, thanks for having us. You've been great to work with, so it's our pleasure to join you today.
Thank you. So you'll see my questions that I'll pop up down here. And where are you from? And how did you start your online selling journey?
Yeah, so we're from, it's Noblesville, Indiana, so it's like a suburb just outside of Indianapolis. Man, we started like exploring this idea of selling on Amazon, I don't know how many years ago.
I would guess like 3 or 4.
Maybe. At least 4.
So it's been on the back burner of your mind.
Well, we like started, and just like finally just pushed through. But yeah, it was on, I think it was an idea of mine at first. I was trying to convince Tasha. I was like, hey, let's just come up with some supplemental income ideas, ones that we can hopefully put on autopilot to where we don't have to do a whole lot of like heavy lifting once it's up and going using the FBA program.
Could I use the word passive income, which this is not necessarily yet, by the way.
Passive is a better word. Yes, that's the buzzword. Passive income.
But when you say you started and stopped, when you started, did you actually sell any, like, did you actually list products, or did you ever send in an FBA shipment, or you just started the idea of it and just hit a brick wall?
So this is what we did is we came up with some ideas. We had 2 different ones, and we started sourcing the product on Alibaba and talked to suppliers back and forth. With one of the times that we started, we actually got a sample. We had a logo like kind of designed and plopped on there. We got the sample. We didn't really like it.
Accurate. The quality wasn't there. It came indented.
And so with that really brings me kind of to my next question is what motivated you to try private labeling, say, versus doing retail arbitrage and what most people start with? What made you start with the private labeling?
Go ahead. Yeah.
You're like, it's out.
I think we just wanted something unique, and, just listening to different podcasts and things, I hear a lot. It doesn't need to cater to everybody. It is okay to have a niche. And we also just kind of wanted something that would stand out from the rest when somebody was searching. So something unique that couldn't be necessarily duplicated.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that?
No, just that. Something that we thought that it would enhance or give us better chances of selling a product out of the gate if it were different from everybody else's.
Yeah, which is, what I would teach people to do as well. And that brings me to my next question is, were there any gaps in your learning that you wish had been covered, right? Because that's a part of it, right? And that's a good part, but there's so many working parts, isn't there?
Something interesting that we found is it's difficult to keep up on the teachings of how to get in the Amazon selling business because the platform changes so rapidly.
Yeah.
So I do wish that we were a little more grounded in actual like Amazon selling, the platform, all the workings behind it before we started to go to a manufacturer, develop a product. I know that's important and we can't sell until we've got that, but Amazon is definitely an intricate platform that we were not prepared for. So
yeah, I can say that. That's why I do encourage a lot of people that I do work with to try just doing online arbitrage, retail, just to learn to navigate Seller Central, the back end, and all those working parts back there. Buttons are hard to find. Like when you hit the help button to go to the case log, like, where's the case log? It's little blue letters that say case log. It's like they don't make it user friendly in so many ways. And then they go changing the button 6 months down the road. So where that button used to be, well, it's just not there anymore.
Yeah. And we uncovered a few of those findings, I know, during a couple of our sessions with you. We weren't maybe set up as the right type of seller and didn't have access to certain functions. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of features, and unfortunately, Amazon doesn't give a lot of clear instructions.
They really don't. They really don't. They're not friendly to us sellers in many ways. So this is always a big one, because then for people who've done the way I've done Amazon and then want to do Alibaba later, is challenges with communicating with the suppliers on Alibaba, right? Because they're from a different country, and that's also an intricate platform. Alibaba is, and all these suppliers, and how you talk with them. So what were some of your challenges when you were communicating with suppliers on Alibaba?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is obvious, it's the time difference. I think, most of the suppliers that we were speaking to were in China, and they're, I think, about 12 hours ahead. So it's actually kind of convenient in a way that you could be talking to these suppliers when you get finished up with work, maybe between like 8 and midnight. Most of the conversations we had were, around midnight, 11 o'clock. But, obviously there's the language barrier. Some of the suppliers spoke very good English. Of course, you have to convert the metric system to what they use centimeters, and we use inches. So just little things like that. But when we finally did select a supplier to go with for the product that we have now, one of the things that stood out was how easy it was to work with that supplier. They honestly, I think they spoke really good English. I shouldn't word it like that, but they were
easy to connect with. They were responsive. We understood each other in communication. We actually had a really good manufacturer that we were with.
Did you watch videos on how to ensure that you're picking the right kind of suppliers on Alibaba? And
yeah. So pretty much that. Looking at whatever type of certifications that they had, the gold supplier, seeing if the trade assurance was offered.
I mean, that's huge, and that can be something that's often overlooked before. And then this is just because I know a little bit about your journey and your product, but this is also a big one that a lot of people overlook, and that is, can you share about your experience with overspending on shipping and what went wrong?
Sure. So, the shipping actually ended up being I think it ended up being almost more than
half, if I recall.
It was more than the product itself.
I should have looked at our numbers before we jumped on this call, but I believe it was more than half the product cost.
It was astonishing. And I know that shipping rates have gone up just as of late. When we were initially working with these suppliers, the shipping, was fairly reasonable. There were some more options with maybe air, and now it's you got to do it by sea, and it's going to be cheaper, but it's still a lot more than we thought it was going to be.
And did you choose sea or did you choose air?
We did choose air. I did get a quote on air, and they were like, no, you don't want to do it. It's way more expensive right now. And I think it's just the size of our product. Could have been a little bit smaller, which is maybe something if we did differently.
And that is something that a lot of people overlook, because we see on their website, 1 to 100, it's only this much a unit. And you're thinking, oh, how much could shipping be? And and a lot of people forget to make sure that you get a quote for shipping first, with this many units, ship it to this zip code. So you really have your bottom line cost for your product. And look, these are things that people overlook. You're not alone in that.
And I was just going to say, and on to that same point with the shipping, we, got to the point where we looked just briefly, within the U.S., pricing and maybe finding a similar type product, and it's still going to be more get it made domestically here than it was crazy. So we just rolled with it.
Absolutely.
Another thing I think with the size of our product too, it kind of kicked us into a different Amazon pricing. So I think I wish we would have started with the smaller product in
Something
general.
lighter and small. Yeah. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize. And then there's the fees on Amazon, right? So the smaller items on Amazon, smaller dimensions, lighter in weight, have less fees than bigger items and heavier weight. Anything over 12 inches is already over $11. It's 11 or more depending. And so this can be confusing for some people if when they've never ordered from overseas. Is how did you navigate customs duties and other import related challenges? Because that can be scary to think, oh, I'm a little too afraid to order from China because of that.
Yeah. So I thought, originally I wanted to ship air, thinking I've heard the experience is a little smoother when it comes to customs and duties. But our supplier, they said they were going to take care of all that stuff up front. It was part of the cost. They handled all the freight forwarding, all of it up front. We didn't have to really even touch any of it.
So they made that very easy for you.
Yeah.
And see, and just knowing that they can and do handle that is great, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because that's paralyzing to some people. They feel like they can't do that.
I would say minus the cost, the shipping experience actually was fairly seamless for us.
That's true. We gave them the address and they shipped it. It was simple.
I've ordered from Alibaba suppliers twice, and I also had the same ease with shipping too. But it's intimidating the first time you try it.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of like a twofold question, but and I'll put the question here is, how did you decide on your specific product to private label? And I feel like this is a two-part. And what tools and methods did you use to come up with that item?
Well, I think you heard about the platform first. It was Jungle Scout.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we did some initial research just on our own, and we kind of had it narrowed down to, I'd say a list of 10 or 12 things that we thought might be viable. And we did, how much was Jungle Scout at the time? Maybe about 100 a month.
No, like 50 or 60.
Yeah. We had that for a few months, and it just kind of from there, really, we plugged in a couple of the products we were interested in, and we came up with self-watering planters.
Well, let me back up.
Yeah.
We had a planter we had this product, a similar product in our house that we really liked, got a lot of compliments on it from our friends. And at that time, there weren't as many like it on Amazon. So we said, let's make something like it, put our own spin, do it completely different.
And Jungle Scout kind of confirmed that for us.
Exactly. We tracked the sales on it. And again, at that time, backing up, one of the things I would have done differently is just moved quicker. Because whenever we had a product, we noticed the 6 months that goes by before we have any, traction on it. Saturated. Amazon's full of it. But
and then if you're the first seller that gets in there and gets ranked, you can then dominate that. I'm guilty of that too, like that analysis paralysis and put things on the back burner for far too long. I currently even have a product on Amazon that I shared with you about right before the show that has been on my mind for probably a year and a half. And I finally put it on Amazon. And now there's a bunch of others similar to it, and I feel like the trend of that kind of went, oh.
Yeah, that's kind of what's happened with like both of the ideas that or 2 out of the 3 ideas that we've had. It's just
it's like if your gut tells you yes, the data tells you yes, the numbers tell you yes, jump on it if you're serious about doing it. Yeah. So did you order samples? And if you did did your final product match what your samples were?
We did. The samples were not cheap. So we had 3 separate sayings on a set of 3 self-watering planters. And there was my goodness, my brain just went blank. To set up a mold fee for each of those planters. So every new saying was a different mold fee. So we did order a sample of the set, and it came I think the quality was good. It came in a timely manner. It was what we expected according to the pictures that the manufacturer shared with us prior. But what did we pay for that? It was.
We had it shipped by air too. We wanted to get it quick and be able to get moving.
Samples are usually pretty expensive. That's pretty common and customary. And then when you get the final product, some people's fear, and it has happened to other people, which is why you want to use that gold trade assurance, is then when you actually get your order, it is not even close to the quality of that sample that you got that made you order. But in your experience, what you got matched.
It did, yeah.
We were satisfied with that.
Yeah.
And then once you got your item, then it's time to create your listing, right? Or you either had it created before it arrived, so it was ready to go. And so what steps did you take to create your Amazon listing? Like an example would be your photography, your description, writing, all of that.
Yeah, she's the artistic one out of the group. So I was happy to know that one day she just had a listing. She made up the listing based on
research. I looked at other people's listings. I researched the benefits of the product that we had, just, and I honestly did a couple different photo sessions just with my iPhone, different lighting at different points of the day, different areas of the house, different backdrops. Popped it into Canva. I have Canva Pro, so I could remove that background. And then I also just, for my 9-to-5 job, I'm used to creating video content. So I was able to create about a 1-minute long video on how the product actually works.
And your photos and your video are fantastic. I remember the first time I met with you. Yeah, when we had a coach call, I was really impressed. I thought they were great. I thought you did a great job.
Just self-critiquing. We'd probably use a photographer, some better lighting next time.
Yeah, and she doesn't tell you about all the times where we tried taping white paper on the back of the wall.
Flip chart paper.
That's what we all do it.
No.
Holding a lamp up to it,
Oh yeah, because then you get the weird shadows, and sometimes it's hard to get a really good photo, or they look too yellow, and it's not easy. I've taken pictures outside, inside, on the kitchen floor, on a kitchen counter, in the bathroom, on the floor. I get it.
Yep.
The ones
what
we
about
used,
yeah.
I was on my belly on the floor taking the photo, so.
Yeah. And what about your verbiage? Like, how did you learn to do your title, bullet points, and all of that stuff?
Well, I think we both kind of just researched it a little, listened to a few podcasts, and then we just looked at examples that, similar sellers had. But I would say that the content was really there initially, but the creativity and the eye-catching factor kind of wasn't. So honestly, you really stepped in with a free platform that we use that saved the day. So
yeah. Honestly, Tina, we wish we would have met with you before we really even did anything. We probably would have saved a little bit of a headache. But
because I told you guys about using ChatGPT, which I tell everybody to play with it and use it because it's such a great tool. Such a great tool.
That platform, man.
And free.
Online writing wizard. It's wild.
It is free, yeah. So
it's kind of crazy.
It's freaky, yeah.
Make it less funny. Make it more funny.
Yeah, it is. I play with it, like write a song about, just when I'm in a silly mood. It's fun to play with. So if you could go back in time, what would you do differently? And you pretty much kind of answered that.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh.
Houston expert. We would have gone to
first. We thought we could piece, at least I thought I could piece it all together just watching, YouTube videos. But, we quickly learned that what they're showing us doesn't necessarily match up what we're seeing on the Amazon seller page at the current time. So honestly, just having somebody like you who's experienced, knows the platform, we didn't even talk about getting the brand that we created, like getting all that set up,
Well,
there's
share that part too. And that's the thing. See, even with me doing YouTube videos, I can like break down segments of things, but you can never teach all the steps in one video, or it would be, a 48-hour long video, because there's so many working parts with Amazon, so many.
Or just to get a small business started in general, to do things the right way. There was some legwork even with our brand and bank accounts and tax IDs.
Well, the good thing is I have a banking background, so that piece was easy. But man, if it was, for me it was, but if it wasn't, then man, that's just one more layer that somebody has to mess with if they decided to go that route. But
that's true, because I've owned businesses in the past, so I knew how to go about getting an LLC and having the separate business checking account, all those things. That was pretty easy to me too, because I did it before. But some people really get stuck on that or overspend on the cost of getting an LLC set up.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a lot of companies out there that will charge you way more than it's worth to get an LLC set up.
Yeah.
And so the last question I really had is, what advice would you give to someone looking to start their own private label journey on Amazon?
Well, I've got a couple ideas, but I'll let you go first.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Honestly, I would say get with a pro first if you have no experience with it. I promise it's going to be an hour that is well worth the money, just to understand what you're getting yourself into. And then the other thing I would recommend is, really, I wouldn't go too big with your product. I would reach out to as many manufacturers as you can, just to make sure that you're with somebody that's giving you the best price point, the best shipping. But I would start with those two things with private label. That being said, I'm not sure I would have started with private label. But if that's your route, if that's your journey, get with a pro, reach out to as many manufacturers as possible, just to make sure you're getting the right price point.
What she said, but also for me, there was a point where she said, when we were stuck, we had this paralysis. We're like, she said it out loud, and it made me feel more comfortable. She said, we just have to realize we're probably not going to make money on this first go.
Or maybe the first 3 goes. I don't know. But realistic.
I'm okay taking the journey and learning it. And at that point, it was easier to just kind of like push through.
I think we were try it.
Yeah.
You tell yourself, well, if this is money we're willing to lose, right?
Exactly.
then it's like, if it fails, well, we were willing to lose it. If it succeeds, it's like, but what if it does work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. And I will say, on my first venture, if you will, doing like my first bundle or my first listing, I was scared to death. And my first bundle I did on Amazon, I was so proud of it. I put so much work into it, and it is such a piece of crap bundle I ever did. It was terrible. My images were terrible. Everything about it was terrible, and I was so proud of it. Yours is good. I mean, yours is not terrible, but mine was awful. My pictures were terrible, but I learned from it. I learned how to make a listing. I learned how to take photos. I learned so much from that. And see, mine was a bundle, so mine wasn't quite like a set like yours. And I ended up taking apart the pieces to my bundle, and I made individual listings out of them. And so I did this listing. I think it was like, this bundle, I think, had 6 components to it. It was too much. I don't think I just like, oh, and this, I like what I'd want for myself at home, right? But we can't have too many parts to a listing. I made individual listings out of that. And that was so many years ago. One component from that bundle, to this day, every year I still sell it. So still something good did come out of that first bundle listing that I ever made. Hi, Millennial Money Mom. She's watching, and she says she loves to see a couple doing Amazon together. Her and her husband also do Amazon together as well. And she's got one kiddo at home, little as well. And I got the pleasure of meeting her at the ASD show. And we have Easter Rose saying hello. So I don't have any more questions for you. That was all I had. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share or if anybody watching has a question. We only have a couple of viewers right now, so I don't expect many questions.
Man, we just would appreciate just cheer us on, guys.
Yeah. Now that we've kind of got one up and running, we're like, man, I can't wait for the next one. This is what we're gonna do different. This is.
We're always
The beauty is you guys do both have full-time jobs. So, that's how I started. I had a full-time job too. So it's like I had a chunk of change that I invested into the Amazon. It was my chunk that was for that. It wasn't part of my bill money. It wasn't my power bill or my car payment, right? I had my job. My bills were still going to be paid. Yeah. Then I played with this play money on Amazon, if you will, to learn it. That was my investment in it. And from there, when I did finally start making sales, the money that I got in my Amazon paycheck, I put 100% of it back into learning Amazon. And then I just kept rolling it until, it was a year and a half later. I was like, wow, I think I have a business, guys. And then that's when I went and got my LLC and everything set up. So I actually started off as a sole proprietor when I started, because I didn't know. I was doing eBay, like, we'll just give this Amazon thing a try. And, we all start for a different reason and at a different point in our life. And we all have that passion, that why that we did it. So I don't think that there's a wrong way to start necessarily. You just start and you'll find your path in it.
Yeah. Getting it listed felt like a win,
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, then I guess we'll say goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this a little helpful if you've considered trying private label on Alibaba. And thanks for watching.
Bye.
Thanks.